Thank you for joining us today. My name is Laura Bantock and I'm the Director of the Western Region at Food Allergy Canada. I'm also a registered nurse and the parent of a young adult with food allergy and asthma. The presentation portion today of our time together will take approximately 35 minutes. Our total time together will be 60 minutes. And we'll be answering questions after the presentation is over. The material in this webinar is meant to supplement the information presented in the webinar series that's offered weekly. These webinars cover how to manage anaphylaxis and food allergy. If you haven't participated in one of these webinars, I strongly recommend that you sign up for a session to complement the information that's being presented today. And you can find that information by visiting Food Allergy Canada's website. Before we get started, I wanted to note a few housekeeping items. All participants are on mute so that we can keep the audio clear for everyone. During the presentation, you can write your questions in the question box and we'll get to as many as possible. If you look at the control panel, you'll see a resource sheet that we've created for you, and you can click on that to download a copy at any time during the presentation. Once the session is over, GoToWebinar will send you a quick survey to complete. This helps us develop further educational resources, so please, if you can, take a few minutes to fill this out. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please contact GoToWebinar by visiting www.gotowebinar for problem solving and support. We will be recording this webinar, which will be available later on our site. I'd now like to introduce you to our presenter today. Stephanie Von Dane is the coordinator out here in the Western Region for Food Allergy Canada. She is also a co-coordinator of the Metro Vancouver Anaphylaxis Group. She's the mother of 2 girls. The eldest has food allergies, including allergies to milk, eggs, peanut, tree nuts, mustard, and fish. And her daughter also has asthma and eczema. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the presentation over to Stephanie and let her get started. Over to you, Stephanie.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, Laura. I have a passion for this topic as I've been managing this allergy for 10 years, and I know how challenging it can be. I hope to provide some clarity around milk allergy and look forward to addressing your questions at the end of the session. I also just want to apologize in advance as I am dealing with a bit of seasonal allergies here at my end. So I may need to clear my throat or take a sip of water throughout the presentation. And before I begin, I just wanted to also mention that the following presentation has been created by Food Allergy Canada, which is a national, not-for-profit organization that supports individuals and families living with potentially life-threatening allergies or anaphylaxis. The presentation is intended to provide an overview of milk allergy and how to manage this complex food allergy in the home and in the community. All medical material related to anaphylaxis is based on anaphylaxis in schools and other settings, which is the consensus guidelines developed by the Canadian Society of Allergy and Clinical Immunology and contributing Canadian allergy associations, including Food Allergy Canada. Funding for this session was provided in part by Aviva Friedman, a child living with a milk allergy. She wanted to help spread awareness and understanding about milk allergy, and this webinar is a result of her generous donation. She has included this wonderful quote for us today. I always try to live life at its highest peak. A couple of rocks will fall on your way up, but if you keep pushing, you'll get there. If you have a reaction, the EpiPen will be like a friend beside you on that mountain, catching your falls and getting you back up again. The information in this presentation and related resources are for informational purposes only and are not intended to provide medical or legal advice. People should talk to their doctor about concerns and questions they may have regarding their own health or the health of their child. Mention of other organizations and websites are provided for informational purposes only. References are not an endorsement of services or products. So there are many adverse types of reaction to milk, but during this presentation we will focus on allergic reactions. So to begin, let's define what a food allergy is. A food allergy is an immune response to the protein in a particular food. Therefore, in someone with a cow's milk allergy, the immune system's allergic response is directed against various cow's milk proteins, such as caseins and whey, or often both. If someone has a milk allergy and they ingest milk or any food product derived from milk, even very small amounts, it can potentially trigger a life-threatening reaction. Just for clarification, as we move forward in this presentation, we will be using the broader term milk allergy to refer to a cow's milk allergy. Additionally, the term dairy products may be used to refer to any product that is made from milk. People with milk allergies are diagnosed by an allergist and are prescribed an epinephrine autoinjector in case of a severe allergic reaction, just like anyone who is allergic to any other food, such as peanuts. The best way to stay safe is to avoid the food in any amount and to always carry an autoinjector. The smell or odor of a food item, in this case milk products such as yogurt, ice cream, or cheese, is a volatile organic compound, or VOC. VOCs do not contain protein, so do not pose a risk for someone with an allergy. If someone with an allergy smells their allergen, it may cause them to feel anxiety or compel them to move away. This is part of our built-in safety system. For example, if you smell smoke, you may move away from the smell in case there is fire. There is a distinction, however, between a smell versus the inhalation of an allergic substance. For example, if a person with a milk allergy were exposed to powdered or aerosolized milk, it could be carried into the nasal passages, eyes, or mouth. Although symptoms could be triggered by this type of exposure, usually these reactions are mild, such as nasal symptoms or asthma, but rarely anaphylaxis. If you are unsure about a reaction, however, the safe choice is to use epinephrine and call 911 for transport to the closest emergency department. So cow's milk allergy is one of the most common food allergies in young children, but it is uncommon in adults. Although many young children will outgrow a milk allergy in childhood, research indicates that not only are milk allergies increasing in prevalence, they are also becoming more persistent in nature. This means that for more individuals, milk allergies are lasting beyond childhood and potentially into adulthood. So the implications and challenges of living with this allergy has changed. Food allergies in general are on the rise, especially in children, and it is a growing public health concern. It is estimated that up to 7.5% of Canadians, approximately 2.5 million people, are affected by food allergy. Many theories exist about what is potentially causing the increase of allergy, for example, the hygiene hypothesis, the timing of food introduction, genetics, etc. But at this time, the experts still don't definitively know the answer. It is likely a combination of many factors. For this reason, mothers should not feel guilty about what they ate or didn't eat in their pregnancy, how they gave birth, what cleaning products they used in their home, or whether they breastfed or not. It can be overwhelming to consider all the possible whys, especially when others may ask this question repeatedly. And as much as you would like to understand the why and why your child developed allergies, it is important to focus on learning the skills you will need to manage this condition safely. In my experience managing multiple allergens, an allergy to milk is often misunderstood. It's often hard for others to understand the implications of living with a milk allergy. They may not realize that someone with a milk protein allergy will not be able to eat any product made from milk. This includes cheeses, butter, yogurt, ice cream, cream, whipped cream, and any other food product where milk is added. Other types of milk, such as deer, buffalo, sheep, and goat's milk, are not safe for someone with a cow's milk allergy, as the protein structure is similar and there is a very high risk of a reaction. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the term dairy products refers to anything that is made from cow's milk. Some people assume that eggs are a dairy item, as they are often sold in the same section as milk products. But since they do not come from a cow or any other mammal that provides milk for human consumption, they are not related. Milk allergies and egg allergies are two separate food allergies. And I have to admit that at the beginning of my journey with this allergy, I did think eggs counted as a dairy product. Gluten-free foods generally contain dairy, so are not safe for those who are on a milk-free diet. And this confusion does happen most often when people dine out. I've heard many stories of families requesting what menu items at a restaurant are milk or dairy-free, and they're given a gluten-free menu for some reason. Navigating packaged and prepared food products can be challenging, as milk powder or milk product is added to many foods that you wouldn't think of as having milk in them. For an example of this, please refer to the photo on this slide of the dill paste product. Most people may assume that this would not be something that might contain milk, but a read through of the ingredients shows that this product contains whey, which is a milk protein. I also saw a garlic paste product from the same company that also contained whey. We will discuss labeling and the use of milk in packaged foods in more depth later on in the presentation. The most common misunderstanding involves people assuming that lactose intolerance and a milk allergy are one and the same. This is something that parents of children with milk allergies often have to clarify with others, and perhaps repeatedly. Food intolerances, such as a lactose intolerance, involve the digestive system. In this case, an inability to digest the sugar in milk, causing intestinal gas, cramping, and bloating, whereas food allergies involve the immune system reacting to the protein, in this case milk, which can lead to anaphylaxis. Some milk products are made without lactose, for example, lactate milk, and some hard cheeses can be naturally lactose-free. These are not safe for those with a milk allergy. Over-the-counter tablets or drops containing the enzyme lactase can sometimes help someone with a lactose intolerance digest lactose, but there is no medication that someone with a milk allergy can take to safely ingest milk proteins. Avoidance is the only way to stay safe. It is important to understand that there is no hierarchy of allergens. For a person with a milk allergy, the risk of anaphylaxis is the same as it would be for a person with a peanut allergy being exposed to peanuts. In reality, the same risk applies regardless of the allergen. This list of allergens on the slide represents the priority allergens for Canada. They are the most common allergens in Canada. That being said, people can be at risk from anaphylaxis from any food item, even if it is not on the list. Fatalities have occurred from ingestion of milk, and many people are not aware of this and assume that the risk is different for this particular allergen. So because of its high protein content and its value as an emulsifying and texturing agent, milk is common in many processed and packaged foods. It is important to learn more about foods that are possible sources of milk, such as frozen prepared foods, soups, casseroles, cereals, dressings, cookies, and crackers, just to name a few. In the past, some products have used other names for milk on their label, such as ammonium, calcium, magnesium, potassium, casein, caseinate, rennet, whey, curds, and many more. Based on the Canadian enhanced labeling requirements for food allergens, these names are not permitted without the word milk also appearing on the label. However, if you have a milk allergy and see these other names for milk in the list of ingredients on a product, you should not eat it. Contact the manufacturer and Health Canada to report the labeling issue. As you can see from the photograph of the label on this slide, at first glance, you might assume that this alternative cheese product would be an item free of milk. The label indicates that it's made with soy, it is a specialty product that is lactose and gluten-free, etc. But a read-through of the ingredients list, however, indicates that the product also contains casein, a milk protein. Do not depend on terms like non-dairy or vegan or kosher parve designation to determine if a product is safe, as the food may contain a trace level of dairy contamination and there may be precautionary warnings, such as a may contain milk. Again, lactose-free does not mean a product is milk-free. Always read the entire label, including the precautionary statement, and call the manufacturer if you have any questions about the product ingredients and how it is manufactured. Precautionary statements are voluntary for manufacturers, but should be used if there is a risk of cross-contamination. Some food products are exempted from labeling regulations, such as deli items, unpackaged bakery items bought straight from the bakery counter, so including items that you might find at your local Starbucks. Be aware that there are also non-food items that may contain milk, such as cosmetics, crafts, soaps, shampoos, creams, pet food, vitamins, supplements, and medications. These items are not covered by the food labeling regulations, so call the manufacturer or talk to your pharmacist with any questions about the content of these items. It's important to read labels every time you purchase prepackaged food. Ingredients and labels can change without notification to consumers, so a product you may have deemed safe for your child may no longer be safe the next time you purchase it. Because of this, trips to the grocery store can be time-consuming. Try to schedule enough time to read every label carefully. It is normal to feel overwhelmed at first, but this practice does become easier over time. So here are our top tips for safely reading food labels. Read the label every time. Do the triple check. So once when you buy a product at the store, a second time when you're putting it away in your pantry, and a third time when you're eating or preparing the meal using that product. And number 2, do not ignore precautionary warnings. Number 3, be cautious of imported products because labeling laws and priority allergens vary by country. And for example, in the US, a food can be labeled non-dairy even if it has casein, which is a milk protein, in the ingredient list. The ingredient statement on non-dairy products in the US will list casein and the word milk next to it, but it is very misleading when you see these labels that say milk-free or non-dairy, and in the ingredient list is actually milk protein. So this is not permitted in Canada, as it is very misleading. Also be cautious when you see imported products like the photo on this slide. You will notice that it has a label over the label, which makes it hard to assess whether they have accurately translated or labeled correctly for our priority allergens. Number 4, contact the manufacturer if you're ever unsure of a product. Number 5, if there is no label or there is any doubt about the ingredients, don't eat the food product. Do not buy bulk items, even if they have labels on their bins. Shoppers may have used the same scoop in different bins, and this can cause cross-contamination. You can visit Food Allergy Canada and Health Canada's websites for more information about the other names for milk and other possible sources of milk. And I've also included the links for those sites on the resource list, which is on the control panel. You can download it from there. You can sign up for the Allergy Information Service through Food Allergy Canada and the Recall Service through the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to get information about product recalls. And to give an example, excuse me, of the types of recalls that have happened recently in relation to milk, there was a huge recall on bread and breading products that occurred in the US and Canada this spring. The breading had milk added that was not declared on the label. So this had a ripple effect that we are still seeing several months later, as many prepared and breaded products have been affected and are still being recalled. And as a matter of fact, I've received several over the last few days. So many parents of children with a milk allergy or adults living with this allergy may be able to relate to these cartoons. People often do not think about the impact that this allergy can have on the experiences of a child and his or her family members. A large part of managing your child's milk allergy will involve educating family members, friends, and caregivers about this allergen. In the first cartoon, it shows a person reacting to someone disclosing that they have a milk allergy. They assume it just means not drinking milk, but are shocked to find out this actually means pizza is off limits too. In the second cartoon, someone is minimizing the impact that this allergy has on a person, while the person with the allergy mentions all the different things that have milk in them. And it is astonishing how many things have milk added or are made with milk. Because of the many misconceptions that exist about milk allergies, it can take time to educate friends, family, daycares, and schools. As we discussed earlier, people often make the assumption that a milk allergy is the same as lactose intolerance, or as a mild allergy. They often do not understand the sheer number of products that have to be avoided. It's not just a matter of not drinking milk. Additionally, implementing risk reduction strategies for managing milk allergies can be a bigger challenge than managing other allergens because most schools do not restrict milk products from the classroom. When talking to friends and family about your child's allergy, refer them to credible sources of information, such as Food Allergy Canada's website or Health Canada's, which both have resources about specific food allergens, including milk. Sometimes it's easier to have these resources do the talking for you. Anyone looking after your child should know how to avoid your child's allergens. For example, understanding cross-contamination and label reading, knowing how to recognize the symptoms of anaphylaxis and how to initiate treatment. Be patient with them as they learn about this allergy. It is a steep learning curve and will take time and education to make sure everyone in your child's life is well informed about how to safely care for your child. If you are faced with those who refuse to take the time to understand your child's milk allergy or who are not comfortable looking after your child, it may be best to seek support elsewhere until you feel they are equipped to look after your child. It's helpful to download an anaphylaxis emergency plan, which is available on the Food Allergy Canada website. Review this with them and train them on the steps of the emergency plan, including how to use an epinephrine autoinjector. You can order a free trainer autoinjector, which contains no needle or medication, from epipen.ca, and it's a great way to give people hands-on skills on how to use it. Milk products are often intertwined with the experiences of childhood. Most celebrations and social gatherings involve milk products in some form or another. And I can say this from experience of having a 10-year-old that pizza and ice cream are the most common party foods. And it's normal to feel overwhelmed and feel like others may not fully understand how this allergy impacts you and your child's life. In order to make social situations safe and enjoyable for you and your child, here are some tips. Teach your child to only eat food that you have approved or provided for them. Teach them to politely say, "No, thank you," when offered food. This is one of the best tools to protect your child. Make sure they wash hands before eating. If they're attending a party, ask what the host is serving and try and bring similar, safe food items for your child to enjoy. And there are so many products available now for those living with a milk allergy. If you will not be there to serve your child his or her food, make sure that the food is clearly labeled, that your child is aware of what food you have left for them, and it is clearly identifiable to them. If the host asks how they can accommodate your child, suggest safe options that you are comfortable with. For example, if they were thinking of serving cheesies, or nemesis, and they can transfer cheese powder everywhere, suggest serving plain chips or offer to bring food to share. Have your child be served on a separate plate so they're not reaching into their safe bag of chips after other children's hands have been inside the bag with potentially ice cream covered hands. Have a conversation with your partner ahead of the gathering to ensure you are on the same page about how to deal with others trying to offer or provide food for your child. And ensure you always have your child's autoinjector with you, or leave it with your child if they are attending a party with someone you have trained to respond in an emergency. Sometimes children with an allergy can feel different. It is natural for your child to feel sad at times about the restrictions that this allergy can create. Listen to their concerns without interrupting them and allow them to express these feelings. Let them know you understand how they are feeling by validating their emotions. For example, saying something like, "That sounds really tough to not be able to eat those treats today." Empathize with them about how difficult this must be for them at times. You may notice that there are times when your child does not seem to mind eating their alternative foods, and other times when they feel left out and are bothered about not being able to eat what everyone else is enjoying. Your child's ability to cope with the restrictions of their food allergy can fluctuate with their ages and stages. Having a conversation with your child before attending a party or any other social engagement about what to expect can help them feel more prepared to deal with the inevitable scenarios involving food. Involve them in coming up with ideas about what they and others can do to help, so they'll feel more in control. For example, asking them to suggest a safe snack or treat, or offer to pick up a safe snack on the way home, or making something special together once you are home. Let your child know that you are proud of the choices they make. Your opinion matters. For example, I know it was hard when you couldn't eat the ice cream at the party, but I was so proud when you said no thank you. Let's pick out a great snack now. Help them to focus on the fun activities they can do at an event or party, not the food. So if you're unable to make your house free of milk because of other family members' nutritional needs, you can reduce the risk of cross-contamination by preparing milk-free food first, using clean dishes, towels, equipment, and utensils, and believe me, you will go through a lot of utensils. Use dedicated shelves or drawers for safe and unsafe foods, both in the pantry and in the fridge. And if you look at the photo on this slide, which is actually from my fridge, you'll note that the dairy items are labeled and are stored in a clear container to guard against spills and are kept out of reach of young children. Storing food this way helps avoid confusion and helps prevent possible cross-contamination. Ensure that you clean utensils and cookware carefully. It is not uncommon to see residue left behind if the knife or spoon is not wiped prior to washing, as some items will bake on in the dishwasher. So, thoroughly rinse or wipe utensils and bowls prior to using the dishwasher to help avoid these baked on surprises. Tell your guests and caregivers about your kitchen rules and food preparation routines. If you are concerned that they're unable to follow these guidelines, consider removing allergens from your house while they are visiting. It is very difficult for someone with no knowledge of allergies and cross-contamination to suddenly understand all the things you do to keep your kitchen safe that are second nature to you. For example, will they know not to dip the knife that they use to spread cow's milk butter into your child's jam jar? Have a gentle hand soap by your sink. This can be helpful as you'll find that you're washing your hands often to prevent cross-contamination. And be aware that alternative milk items can often look very similar to the allergens, so make sure to educate everyone in the home on your kitchen rules and plans for storage. For example, cow's milk left in a cup looks similar to an alternative dairy beverage, and butter spread on toast could easily be mistaken for a milk-free margarine. If you're feeding milk-containing products to a younger sibling, contain them in a high chair or at the table and wash their face and hands thoroughly. The sibling can learn to take on this routine of washing up as they get older. My daughter's younger sibling always washes her hands and face now after eating milk products and rarely needs a reminder. We also made the decision to feed her less spillable forms of food, such as yogurt and cheese. She has not grown up on cow's milk and subsequently doesn't like it unless it's chocolate milk, because the risk of 1 cup of cow's milk accidentally being confused for a cup of rice milk or soy milk was too high for me. Every family will find their own comfort level with this, and some may even decide to have no milk products in the home and will feed the other siblings milk-containing food at the homes of friends and relatives. It definitely takes more vigilance to manage this allergen in the home, but it can be done. As dairy is considered a major food group, restricting milk products is not usually a possibility at daycares and schools. This may be more negotiable in the preschool setting because children may be only there for limited hours. Some provinces, for example, Ontario and Manitoba, have policy pertaining to management of anaphylaxis in the daycare setting. These policies center around the reduction of exposure to allergens, but do not specify limiting certain allergens. If your daycare does not have a policy regarding anaphylaxis, refer them to the National Consensus Guidelines, Anaphylaxis in Schools and Other Settings, which can be used to guide the strategies for keeping your child safe. This can be found on the Food Allergy Canada website. You can also refer your childcare provider or daycare to the free online training for daycares and schools that's available at allergyaware.ca. And again, these resources are also going to be on the resource list that's on the control panel. As for schools, knowing the policy that pertains to your province and school district for management of anaphylaxis is key. You can visit the Food Allergy Canada website to find information on provincial policies, and you can search your local school district website for your school's district policies. In BC, we have the ministerial order that outlines ways that schools can help to keep kids with anaphylaxis safe. In Ontario, there is Sabrina's Law. These policies and resources can serve as the foundation for your communications with your child's school. Clear communication with the administration at the beginning of the year can help set you up with risk reduction strategies that will help to keep your child safe. Some principals or classroom teachers will send out letters to the parent community so they are informed of the severity of the allergy and to illustrate what risk reduction will look like in the classroom. Discuss with your administrator what will be included in the letter and use credible resources to help guide your strategies. Dairy allergies can be managed successfully in the classroom and school setting, but there is no doubt that it takes planning, communication, and cooperation among all the key stakeholders. A risk reduction approach is the most effective way to manage this allergy in the school setting, as total restrictions may lead to conflicts. We will talk about what risk reduction can look like in the next slide. So some examples of risk reduction in a school setting include ensuring that staff have yearly training on how to prevent, recognize, and treat anaphylaxis. And this can be done typically by the public health nurse in the region where your school is. Teaching kids to wash hands before and after eating. Ensuring that your child knows to only eat approved foods that are prepared by a parent or caregiver with appropriate knowledge. Requesting good janitorial services, for example, floor and table surface cleaning after food is consumed in a classroom or lunchroom. Teaching your child to self-carry their auto-injector at an age-appropriate stage. And a spare auto-injector is kept in centrally located area like the school office, but is never locked. All children should be taught to never share food, drinks, or utensils. Request that advance notice be given regarding food-related activities or celebrations in the classroom so you can bring an alternative treat for your child. If allergens are being served in the classroom, there needs to be consideration regarding how it is served. There would need to be supervision and thorough cleaning of surfaces after food is eaten, and hand washing, of course, by all students. In the lunchroom, if tables are crowded, supervision may be required to help mitigate risk from spills. And remember that most hot lunch foods involve dairy products: pizza day, burger day, wrap days, Subway days. So special precautions may need to be taken on these days. And just to give you a personal example of risk reduction in action, I thought I would share with you my daughter's experience. So she's going into grade 5 this September, and she has been managing at her public school without any restrictions in place for lunches since she started in kindergarten. The school is peanut and tree nut aware, but no other foods have been restricted. She does get some supervision at lunch and is seated at the end of the table so she's not squished between classmates eating yogurt and cheese. She has learned to be very cautious and always washes her hands before eating, and she actually claims she's the only one in her class who does this. We have had some restrictions with food-based celebrations in the classroom and with the milk delivery program, which I'll talk a bit about more later, but she eats next to her peers every day who consume dairy products. The positive to this is that she knows she can be around others who are eating her allergens, and she knows to get help if someone spills something on her or her lunch, which hasn't happened yet. She can advocate if she feels people are encroaching on her space. She knows to always wash her hands and to never share food or cups. She is learning key life skills that will prepare her for the world where milk products are everywhere. Ultimately, this gives her confidence and an understanding of where risk is or where it isn't. And in any given situation, whether it be school or the community, she has the confidence. And it gives me and her father the ability to let her try new things without being consumed with worry. So if a school has a milk program, in the classroom, risk reduction strategies are key to reducing the risk of accidental exposure. Some ideas could be milk being given out at the end of the day for the students to take home, having the child with a milk allergy being offered a non-dairy alternative, such as soy milk, adult supervision. If milk is given out and consumed in the classroom, thorough cleaning of tabletops and surfaces is needed, and containers must be carefully disposed of. Having the students wash their hands afterwards. These strategies can be time-consuming for the classroom teacher, so provide support and opportunities for collaboration wherever possible. In my experience, my daughter's teachers have decided to opt out of the program if they do not think they can manage the risk reduction strategies that they need for this to be safe in the classroom. And a teacher's ability to opt out of this program may be dependent on your school or district's interpretation of existing policy. Have a conversation with your school's administrator at the beginning of the year to find out what steps they will take to reduce risk in the classroom if the milk is being consumed there. When dining out, it can be hard to avoid milk products as they are used extensively in cooking. Make sure to contact the restaurant ahead of time and examine online menus if possible. Dine early when staff can spend more time with you, not the busy, lunch or dinner crowd. Consider a chef card, which has all your child's allergies outlined, and that way they can take it to the back and talk to the chef as well. Although I wouldn't use this to replace good communication, if, as always, talk directly to your server and to your chef if possible. Be clear with the chef and server. Make sure to mention all the forms of milk that need to be avoided. For example, was the bun brushed with butter? Don't assume they understand the details of managing this allergy. Please consider that many items that are grilled or deep fried may have come into contact with dairy. For example, a grill may be contaminated if they cook burgers covered in cheese on the same grill that they're preparing your meal on. So keep menu choices simple and ask to have a meal made offline or request a barrier method of cooking, as you can see in the second picture. For example, asking to have chicken and potato wrapped in a tin foil with steamed vegetables on the side. Items such as sauces, soups, and dressings often contain dairy, and servers may not know the ingredients contained in these menu choices. Most importantly, do not dine out without your child's auto-injector. If you do not have it with you, do not eat until you have returned home to get it. Milk provides a good source of many nutrients essential for bone mineralization and growth. This is especially important during peak growth periods. When your child avoids foods containing milk, he or she may lose essential nutrients from his diet. You will need to choose foods with care to replace these lost nutrients. Meats, poultry, eggs, fish, nuts, and legumes can easily provide needed protein. However, to replace calcium, your child may need to consume lots of non-dairy food sources containing calcium. This may be more than a young child is capable of eating, and they may require additional supplementation. Some good sources of calcium other than from milk products includes fortified soy, rice, or almond beverage, tofu, sardines, salmon canned with bones, beans, leafy greens, tahini, almonds, and more. Talk to your doctor and ask for a referral to a dietitian to discuss ways to boost your child's nutritional status. Most provinces also have a telehealth service where you can speak with a dietitian over the phone. Make sure to ask to speak with a dietitian who has knowledge of food allergies. You can also visit dietitians.ca to learn more about alternative calcium sources. So research is showing that milk that has been extensively heated, for example in a baked muffin, can be tolerated by some children with milk allergies. An allergist may recommend that a child undergo a supervised baked milk challenge to see if they can tolerate milk in this form. When the milk is heated, the proteins change shape, and for some people, this means that their immune system no longer recognizes them as an allergen. The addition of baked milk to the diet of children tolerating such foods appears to speed up the development of milk tolerance in an unheated form compared with strict avoidance. And in one study, children who incorporated baked milk into their diet were 16 times more likely to tolerate unheated milk than in a comparison group who strictly avoided all milk products. This is encouraging, but always make sure to consult your allergist before reintroducing your child to milk products in any form. If your child has not had a supervised baked milk challenge, ask your allergist if this might be appropriate for your child. Living with a milk allergy can be challenging, but with education, planning, and support, children and adults can live fully and confidently with this allergy. Some things to remember. There is an increase in the availability of food products for those living with dairy allergy, which means children can enjoy safe ice cream and pizza alongside their peers. There's more awareness of food allergy in general in the community. Support is available through Food Allergy Canada. Find out about support groups in your area to connect with others living with food allergy. Research is underway to look for possible treatments for milk allergy. Some include skin patch trials, where they use specialized patches that contain an allergen and is placed on the skin in increasing doses over time to try and induce tolerance. This study is currently in phase 2. Oral immunotherapy trials, or OIT, are underway in Canada, namely in Vancouver and Montreal. This study will assess a protocol for oral immunotherapy, which is a process to teach the body not to be allergic to milk. And it potentially increases the safety margin for consumption of milk in allergic children. Oral immunotherapy is done under strict supervision of an allergist, and there are many protocols that must be followed. If you feel your child could be a candidate for this therapy, have this discussion with your allergist. I'd like to acknowledge and thank the Food Allergy Canada staff and consultants who have helped to develop this resource. I would also like to thank allergist Dr. Amanda Jagdis, who has kindly medically reviewed this presentation. And again, thanks to Aviva Friedman, who made a generous donation to Food Allergy Canada so that this milk allergy resource could be developed and shared with you today.
Thanks, Stephanie. That was a great presentation. So we've got some questions here to answer. The first one is, can you comment on the health of milk substitutes? Will our kids grow up to be strong?
Okay, great question. First of all, your best resource regarding your child's nutrition will be a registered dietitian. So like I mentioned earlier, using your province's telehealth service or requesting a referral from your allergist or GP to a dietitian would be the best place to start. Children with dietary restrictions, particularly to milk, will require nutritional counseling to ensure that they're getting the nutrition they need and that they're growing well. As for milk substitutes, there are several, such as soy, almond, rice, pea protein, flax, oat, coconut milk, and just making sure they're fortified with calcium and vitamin D. And for those who are dealing with a nut allergy, you'll obviously have to avoid the nut milks and to check all labels for precautionary statements, as a lot of alternative milk manufacturers also make nut milk. And it's also worth mentioning that someone with a legume allergy may not tolerate pea protein, which can be found in many alternative milk products. And from what I've been told from my child's allergy dietitian, soy milk has the most nutritive value due to the high protein and fat content that it has. But again, if your child cannot have soy, then you would have to, again, talk to a dietitian about what the best plan would be. And if you're dealing with an infant with a milk allergy and you're unable to breastfeed, please consult your child's physician or allergist about formulas that might be suitable for them. Rice milk and other replacement milk beverages are not meant to replace formula or breast milk. And the GP or pediatrician following your child should monitor your child's weight and height and plot where they are on the growth chart to ensure they're on the right track. And now to address the second part of your question, kids with a milk allergy can certainly grow up to be strong. My 10-year-old daughter has many restrictions beyond milk, and she's very strong and strong-willed. And she probably eats a lot better than most kids her age, given that she has a whole foods diet of fresh fruits and veggies and meat, very little processed foods. And she's a very athletic girl involved in sports and cross-country skiing. So yes, they can be strong. So as long as we're mindful about how we're replacing milk products and that we're seeking dietary support and following up regularly with our healthcare provider and allergist, and maybe even discussing the possibility of baked milk challenges, and most importantly, keeping them active, they can most definitely grow up to be strong kids.
Okay, great answer. What are some of the other replacement products for yogurt, cream, butter, and cheese?
So there's alternative yogurts that I've found made from soy, coconut milk, and there's also yogurts made from nuts like cashews and almonds. That's off limits for us because of the nut allergy, but there are products out there. Margarines can replace butter, but you need to be very careful as some margarine products still use milk protein, so you need to always check the label. You can use oils like olive oil to coat vegetables instead of using butter, and some people even use coconut oil in place of butter to spread it on toast. There are many creamers you can buy, typically made from coconut milk and soy milk. And for cheese replacement, there are several options, some made from coconut product, pea protein, and soy. And again, just making sure, and I can't stress this enough, to always read labels, because as the photo on the one slide I showed you, a cheese product you would think would be free of milk, it's a soy cheese, can actually have a milk protein in it. So just being very cautious there. And the other thing is, again, that a lot of these dairy-free products contain pea protein. So if you have a child that's allergic to legumes, you need to be aware of this. And we don't necessarily provide a list of safe food, like Food Allergy Canada doesn't have a list of safe food products, because food manufacturers can change their ingredients in their products without notice. So, we have to be very diligent as parents when we purchase product to always read the label, and we can't depend on a safe food list because they could change, from one day to the next.
Yeah, okay. So the next question is, are lactose-containing products, for instance, in medications, etc., safe for someone with a milk allergy? And how do I educate my medical professional, especially with regard to dairy and medications and puffers?
So pharmaceutical grade lactose contains very little to no milk protein. However, reactions have been reported in children with a severe milk allergy. Small amounts of milk protein have been detected in dry powdered inhaler devices, and actually injectable methylprednisolone. I'm not saying this correctly, I don't think. Methylprednisolone. And there are usually alternate lactose-free forms which can be used. So make sure to let your pharmacist know, and your doctor, of course, about any of your child's allergies so they can add this to their file. And if there's any doubt, consulting with your allergist about your specific case and the medication involved is the safest plan. There are some studies that I've added on the resource sheet pertaining to medications and milk allergies, so please share these references with your medical provider or your pharmacist as needed. And sometimes it's better to have other credible resources do the talking for us. So I encourage you to share those resources with your pharmacist if they're not understanding where you're coming from.
Okay. The next question is, will my child ever outgrow this allergy? What are the chances of a sibling having this allergy as well?
So, these are questions for your allergist, but, commonly milk allergy can be outgrown, although, as I mentioned, the research is showing that the allergy is tending to persist longer than it did when studied previously. And they're not really sure why this is the case, but they are looking into the reasons. As for the siblings and risk of a milk allergy, in my case study of 2, I have one, the eldest, with milk allergy and many other allergies, and a sibling with no allergies. So, they had been doing research around peanut allergies and showing that if an older sibling had a peanut allergy, the other siblings were at a higher risk of developing a peanut allergy, but now they're starting to wonder if it has to do with timing of food introduction. Because typically if you have a family who's dealing with allergy, when they have their next child, they might be more cautious and delay introduction of food, especially the food that the elder sibling is allergic to. And so now the recommendations, as many of you probably are aware, have changed around introduction of allergenic foods, and not to delay, to actually feed these foods early. So there's no benefit to waiting beyond 6 months of age to feed allergenic foods to children, even if they have a sibling with a food allergy. So I have included on the resource sheet as well the recommendations around food introduction from the Canadian Pediatric Society. So again, talk to your doctor if you have any concerns around food introduction for the sibling. But I know what it's like. I had to feed my second born all these foods that my daughter was allergic to, and I was feeding them early under recommendation of the allergist. And it was a bit of a daunting task, but we made it through.
Okay, there's a quick question that came in during your talk, actually, and I think you'll know the answer to this one, and it is there a good cream substitute? This person is trying to make casseroles and replace the creamy part. I'm just wondering if you know the answer to that.
Well, I use soy milk to get the creamy effect, and that's been successful. You can also use the the replacement cheese if it's a cheesy sauce. Another option is nutritional yeast, if you can find one that's safe for your child, so it doesn't have any precautionary statements, because I know several companies have nutritional yeast, but they do have precautionary statements to nuts sometimes. So, but nutritional yeast is an amazing wonder food. You can make a cheesy macaroni dish using nutritional yeast, with a liquid, either a rice milk or some other kind of liquid. But yeah, so that's one suggestion.
Okay, so another question from an online submission was, how did you handle the restrictions at a younger age? My son is 3, and we have a really hard time when food is involved at activities. For example, snack time during, soccer. He obviously doesn't fully understand his allergy, and even when I bring a similar alternative, he's been upset and feels left out when everyone else is having something else, and he doesn't really understand why he can't.
Yeah, it is tricky. I mean, definitely, looking back, those younger toddler years were very challenging. And sometimes I just made decisions around, what I felt that she could handle and I could handle on a given day if I knew there was going to be food everywhere and goldfish crackers everywhere for her to pick up and try and eat. If I wasn't feeling like I could supervise her to the level I needed to keep her safe, then I sometimes opted for other activities. But I do try and reassure people that it does get easier as they get older and they understand and they're more aware about their allergies. Then it does get easier. Not to say there's not times where my 10-year-old will feel left out in a situation, because despite all my good planning and having alternative treats, there could be a day, if she's feeling particularly tired or hungry, where it comes out and she feels left out. But essentially when they're young, it's all about supervision, trying to control the environment as much as you can, trying to focus them on the activities that they're doing, but also listening to their concerns, not trying to totally negate what they're feeling. And as they get older, you can also connect them with other kids who are going through similar things. So, and this is a ways away from when you're 3, but there's the Allergy Pals program through Food Allergy Canada, where kids, I think as young as 7, can connect with other kids in an online platform similar to this, giving them a community of others who understand them. But yeah,
Great.
it is all about supervision and vigilance and just trying to be there to support your kid when they're
Mm.
feeling bad about it.
So I see we've got about 5 minutes left, and there are a couple more questions that have come in online. This one is about my son is due to start school in September. We found the school to be rather unaccommodating when we discussed his food allergy with them. What types of accommodations were made for your daughter in JK, SCAN? I'm assuming that's junior kindergarten and senior kindergarten. As of now, we're thinking to keep him home for the year, but socially he's ready, so I feel bad keeping him at home.
Yeah, I mean, in kindergarten, they were eating as they are still in a lunchroom, which is actually a gymnasium at tables. So we had, a placemat that we made for her so that she knew that she would only eat, in her area and to keep other kids from encroaching on her space. So like kind of making it clear what's her space and her buffer zone. I was lucky in the sense that our school has quite a high number of supervision aides or student support workers. We have a lot of children in our school that have diverse needs, so there are people around to supervise, and I always had somebody that was kind of her go-to person. And just making sure that she always washed her hands before eating. So whether in kindergarten, all the kids would go and wash their hands before eating, but then as she got older, it would be a reminder for her, and her teacher would just like knock on her desk before lunch or recess to remind her to wash her hands. So we really focused on kind of training her to be vigilant and to be aware of her own space and to know how to seek help if she needed it. And again, always making sure she was wearing her epinephrine auto-injector and reviewing at the beginning of the year her care plan, the anaphylaxis emergency plan. So, and also in her classroom, there was a student support worker who was assigned to another student, but kind of took Caitlin under her wing to support her as well. So that's how we dealt with it, and we had a good experience. But I can appreciate that not every school has maybe the same amount of staff that they can designate to looking out for your child with an allergy.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question, and this one's about breastfeeding an infant that has a milk allergy. So could you talk about breastfeeding and milk allergy?
So food allergens ingested by mums can be detectable in breast milk, but this can vary with the food ingested and the individual, and there are rare reports of infants reacting due to the transfer of maternally ingested allergens via the breast milk. So if a mom is breastfeeding a baby with a milk allergy, this is something that needs to be discussed with the allergist, particularly if there's any concerns that the child may have had a reaction to the allergen in a breast milk. So if the mother is advised to remove milk products from her diet, she should have dietary counseling to ensure she is getting enough adequate calcium and nutrition. But in all cases, mothers should speak with their doctor allergist if they have questions about how to maintain breastfeeding for a child with a cow's milk allergy.
Okay, I've got two questions I want to squeak in here, Stephanie. One is about what age should children carry their own auto-injector, and the other one is about a child in their teens, and is there any precautions that should be taken regarding kissing? And in that case, with regard to the kissing, would brushing their teeth be enough? So two separate questions. I'm hoping we can get through them pretty quickly
Okay.
before we have to finish.
Okay, remind me now what the first one was.
The first one was what age should children
Okay,
start
yes.
carrying their auto-injector?
So, it can be different for different kids, but for my daughter, we started her in kindergarten and the summer leading up to kindergarten so that we knew she was capable of doing it. I mean, if you have a child who's super curious and wanting to pull the EpiPen out all the time and, potentially use it, then you may have to, revisit that at a later stage. But my daughter was very respectful of the fact that it had a needle and didn't want to mess with it, and she also wouldn't let other people handle it or touch it. So yeah, leading up to kindergarten, so for her that would have been like age 4 or 5, wearing it. We have a great waist belt that she wears with it, and now to the, like, she's now 10, she sometimes goes to sleep with it on. It's become a part of her. So yeah, but usually around the time they're entering kindergarten, you'd like to have them wearing it so that it's always with them no matter where they are on the school ground. If they're at the far reaches of the field, they have it with them, and no one's having to go searching for the auto-injector if the need arises. So that's that question. As for the teen and kissing, I'm going to hand this over to Laura because she has a young adult.
Yes, okay, well, people do have to be careful, you know, whatever allergen, you know, is in their mouth, you know, so it's a bit of a difficult one to measure, really. Is brushing enough? I would say brushing your teeth, leaving some time before that person has ingested milk and the time that the kissing will happen. You know, making sure to have good hygiene. I think that's, you know, these are all, you know, the what if questions will drive you slightly crazy. But yes, I would say if somebody's just, you know, had a yogurt and then they go and kiss a child with or kiss another person with food allergy, there is a risk. So really great hygiene, you know, has to be employed in this situation. And don't forget that, you know, childhood is a fantastic learning ground for all of these lessons, so that when they are a little bit more grown up and they are kissing other people, you know, they'll be able to handle these situations as they show up. So Stephanie, we're at the end of our time today.
Can I just mention one thing about the kissing? I'm recalling a conversation I had with a young adult about this, and she was saying she has a water pick. Remember the water pick?
Oh, yes.
And she uses that, or she gets her boyfriend to use it as, you know, he has his own, and to use that as part of, you know, having
the
good
oral hygiene.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. My daughter used to keep a boyfriend's a separate toothbrush for him at her apartment, so he could wash his teeth. So anyway, listen, it's 11:32 now. So I wanted to thank everybody for attending the webinar, and thank you very much, Stephanie. That was a really excellent presentation. We hope that you found the information helpful and useful. There will be a short survey that's going to be sent to you through GoToWebinar in the next hour or so. So if you can, please take a moment to fill that out for us. So this is now the end of our time together. I know I speak for Stephanie as well, and we wish everybody a great day. And if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're very happy to answer questions. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.